fastened tight. And I'm back where I started. Nowhere to go but up.
Yes, this is a rare kind of magic. I'll need to write to headquarters right away.
What a well of knowledge this tome is.
Empty.
Dallas is such a dear lending it to me.
No lesions, no trauma. It was plenty of magic.
Why, you're looking a bit more chipper. Yes, looks like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself. There you are. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash. In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest, and he's the chap in charge of the logs. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters. Is he? Oh well. Some problems simply sort themselves, don't they?
She frowns and peers at you closely, resting the back of one hand on your forehead and taking your pulse with the other.
Delusions such as these are rare, but not unheard of. I recommend a cup of mulled wine and another night's sleep. Just take it easy. Why, for my peace of mind, of course. Why don't you try casting one of those source spells of yours? See what happens.
Currents of magic surge inside you, boiling, bursting, then breaking, only to fade back into your soul like rain into the earth.
My, look at the concentration on your face. All will, but no result. There you have it. See? The collar's function. It neuters you of sorts. Makes you unable to cast source. For your own peace of mind, of course. Yours and the whole world's. Dungeon? You have the gall to call my laboratory a dungeon? I'd be quite annoyed with you if you didn't look so honestly perplexed.
Index fingers pressed to her lips, she pauses a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was a bit too generous with that sedative. Oh, well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is that we're en route to Fort Joy. A new life awaits, And if you're a particularly good girl, perhaps a cure as well. An end to Sauce. For good. Everything's spick and span. Nothing left to do, really. You've been collared and you've been told why. There really is no need for you to linger.
Good gods. There's been a murder here.
Behind the Magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles. You can't make out a face amid the mess.
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting your collar fitted at the time, or you'd be a suspect like the rest of them. Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does.
No known associates. In fact, he seemed quite averse to spending time...
Aren't you enterprising? I'll let Waters tell you no herself. Go ahead. She with the body. Nothing to see here.
A young Magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass. The pale young woman doesn't acknowledge you. She nods to the right without moving her gaze from the ground.
Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwalker followed the source that did this.
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You were asleep the whole time. Didn't even stir. You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course. Finn was killed by Source. If a Magister could do that, there wouldn't be a Magister. It looks more like a passenger managed to slip their collar. And the rest, well, you see the evidence in front of you. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open among the passengers. Sometimes they clam up in front of a uniform. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that?
My, these smelling salts are strong stuff.
Thanks. I just want to catch whoever did this before they hurt anyone else. So, anything interesting for me? I'll take that as a no. It seems as though there's a pattern in the blood flow. That can't be natural. fact, he seemed quite averse.
The hatch is blocked. I'll need to find another way. The hatch is blocked. I'll need to find another way.
Why won't you sing?
I forgot how to sing. I did.
Known associates. In fact, he seemed quite averse to spending time with the others.
You put a knuckle in it. I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us.
Rubbish.
We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
You think me mad?
Mad? No. Insufferable? Surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
A broad dwarf sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, Ghetto. You hear that?
He turns his head toward you, looking you up and down, and smiles before turning his attention to the ship once more.
You look like a Ghetto to me. Listen if you're interested, or get gone if you aren't.
I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner.
The ship, of course.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty.
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor to ceiling, the boom, crash and crackle of waves around you, complaints from the sea itself.
And? Sick as a leper's cat. From the state of it, I'd say she's being cared for by a bunch of beardless babes who never loved anyone but their own mums. But there's more. Listen close. There now, just like that.
Squeak!
Aha!
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back, the other catches you before you lose your footing.
There, you heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, Ghetto. Good news.
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen more appetizing things coming
It's
out
the
of
wheel. The wheel. Don't you see, you beautiful idiot? Squeaks whenever the helmsman jerks it clockwise, which means we're heading east.
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less
Burn
than a
my
dozen-course
beard.
dinner.
That means if we've been travelling for, yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy.
Maybe that has the Magister's more concern than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about
Yeah,
slops.
no indeed, Ghetto. But that ain't my final destination.
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily. His eyes roll over to you.
That'll be all. Thank ye kindly, Ghetto.
Ask what you must. I've nothing to hide.
He continues stroking his beard, a beatific smile on his lips, and doesn't acknowledge you anymore.
Overboiling a bit of carrot.
If you'll be pardoning me, I'll be much obliged.
Did you see the body? They ought to let you taste a bit. Maybe you'd find out who done it.
Come on, please, no son.
If you'll be pardoning me, I'll be much obliged.
They're everywhere now, the Magisters. In my hometown, you can't throw a shoe without hitting one. We're not safe from them, not anywhere.
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
That right. I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Nest. Your kind always hung closest to her who